A catastrophic multi-vehicle collision involving dozens of passenger cars and commercial semi-trucks brought traffic to a standstill on Interstate 131, I-131, early Tuesday morning as a sudden and violent snow squall swept across the region. Local authorities have confirmed multiple injuries and significant fatalities following what is being described as one of the worst weather-related traffic disasters in the state's recent history. The disaster began shortly after 8:30 a.m. during the height of the morning commute. According to the National Weather Service, a lake-effect snow squall moved rapidly inland from Lake Michigan, dropping visibility to near zero within seconds, a phenomenon commonly referred to as a whiteout. Witnesses reported that the transition from clear pavement to a wall of blinding white was instantaneous. One minute I could see the taillights of the truck in front of me, and the next, I couldn't even see my own hood, said Marcus Miller, a motorist who managed to steer his vehicle into the median just seconds before the impact began. Then came the sound. It was just a continuous roar of metal crushing metal and the screeching of air brakes. The primary site of the accident was located on the northbound lanes of I-131, near the border of Kent and Montcalm counties. Preliminary investigations by the Michigan State Police suggest that a semi-trailer lost traction on a bridge deck that had flash frozen. The truck jackknifed, creating an unavoidable blockade across all lanes. Due to the lack of visibility and the icy surface, following vehicles were unable to stop in time. A chain reaction ensued, involving an estimated 40 to 60 vehicles. The wreckage spanned nearly half a mile, with several cars pinned beneath the trailers of heavy trucks and others forced off the embankment into deep snowbanks. Emergency dispatchers were flooded with calls to emergency services from trapped motorists. First responders from 5 different townships arrived at the scene, but their progress was hampered by the same icy conditions that caused the crash. Many paramedics had to abandon their ambulances and carry medical kits on foot to reach the victims. The scene was absolute chaos, said Fire Chief Sarah Jenkins. We had vehicles stacked on top of each other, fuel leaks to contain, and people trapped in mangled wreckage. Our priority was triage and extrication, but the bitter cold made every operation twice as difficult. Rescue teams used heavy hydraulic tools, the jaws of life, to cut through the steel frames of crushed sedans. A temporary warming center was established at a nearby church for those who were uninjured but stranded, as temperatures plummeted into the single digits. Official reports indicate at least 4 confirmed fatalities at the scene, with over 20 individuals transported to regional Level 1 trauma centers. 3 of the injured remain in critical condition. The names of the deceased are being withheld pending notification of their families. Hospital spokespersons stated that the injuries ranged from severe blunt force trauma and broken limbs to symptoms of hypothermia among those who were trapped in their vehicles for extended periods. The Michigan Department of Transportation, MDOT, closed a 15-mile stretch of I-131 for over 12 hours as accident reconstruction teams documented the scene, and heavy-duty tow trucks worked to clear the tangled wreckage. Colonel Robert Davis of the Michigan State Police issued a stern reminder to the public. This tragedy highlights the extreme danger of snow squalls. When visibility drops, your speed must drop immediately. On icy roads, no amount of 4-wheel drive can override the laws of physics. Environmental crews were also called to the scene to mitigate a large diesel spill from a ruptured fuel tank on one of the semi-trucks, ensuring that the hazardous runoff did not reach local waterways. By 10 p.m., the wreckage had been cleared, and MDOT crews had heavily salted and plowed the interstate. However, with more lake-effect snow in the forecast for the remainder of the week, authorities are urging citizens to avoid unnecessary travel. The investigation into the specific timeline of the crash continues. Experts will be reviewing dashcam footage and electronic logging devices from the commercial trucks involved to determine if excessive speed played a significant role in the severity of the pileup. Meanwhile, Interstate 94 turned into a landscape of twisted metal and shattered glass on Tuesday as a series of violent lake-effect snow squalls triggered a massive chain reaction collision. The pileup, which involved approximately 150 vehicles, including dozens of commercial semi-trucks and a motor coach, has been declared one of the most significant traffic disasters in Michigan's history. The catastrophe began late in the morning as an Arctic air mass moved across the relatively warm waters of Lake Michigan. This interaction birthed snow squalls, localized intense bursts of snow accompanied by gale force winds. According to the National Weather Service, NWS, visibility at the time of the crash dropped from several miles to less than 10 feet in a matter of seconds. Meteorologists describe these events as whiteouts, where the sky and the snow-covered ground blend into a single disorienting void. For drivers traveling at highway speeds on I-94, a primary artery connecting Chicago and Detroit, the sudden loss of visual cues proved fatal. The initial collision occurred in the eastbound lanes near Galesburg, between Kalamazoo and Battle Creek. Preliminary reports from the Michigan State Police indicate that the pileup began when a semi-trailer lost traction on an icy bridge deck, jackknifing across 3 lanes of traffic. Due to the blinding snow, oncoming drivers were unable to see the obstruction until they were mere feet away. One after another, passenger cars, SUVs, and heavy-duty haulers slammed into the growing mass of wreckage. The force of the impacts was so severe that several smaller vehicles were completely crushed beneath the underride guards of the trailers. "It was like a war zone," said David Miller, a driver who survived the crash by swerving into a ditch. "You would hear a thud, then a crash, then the hiss of air brakes, and then silence for a second before the next car hit. People were screaming, and you couldn't see who was calling for help because the snow was so thick." The situation escalated from a traffic accident to a public health emergency when a semi-truck carrying 40,000 pounds of industrial-grade fireworks was struck. The impact ignited the cargo, leading to a spectacular but terrifying series of explosions amidst the blizzard. Furthermore, another tanker involved in the pileup began leaking liquid formic acid, a highly corrosive and toxic substance. This necessitated an immediate 3-mile evacuation radius, forcing uninjured survivors to flee their vehicles and trek through knee-deep snow to reach safety zones. First responders faced an uphill battle. Fire engines and ambulances struggled to reach the scene as the highway was blocked for miles in both directions. The Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Office coordinated with local bus services to provide warming shelters for those stranded in the sub-zero temperatures. Firefighters worked for over 6 hours using specialized heavy rescue equipment to extricate drivers trapped in compressed cabin spaces. "The cold is our biggest enemy right now," noted a lead paramedic. "Hypothermia sets in within minutes when victims are trapped in unheated vehicles with broken windows." Official sources have confirmed multiple fatalities, including a truck driver from Canada and 2 local motorists. Over 30 individuals were transported to Bronson Methodist Hospital and Borges Medical Center, with injuries ranging from critical internal trauma to severe frostbite. The financial toll is expected to reach millions of dollars. Beyond the loss of vehicles, the closure of I-94, a critical logistics corridor, stalled the movement of thousands of tons of freight, impacting supply chains across the Midwest. The Michigan Department of Transportation, MDOT, closed the interstate for nearly 24 hours to allow for a massive cleanup operation and accident reconstruction. Investigators are currently analyzing dashcam footage and black box data from the commercial vehicles to determine if excessive speed contributed to the severity of the pileup. Colonel Michael Crum of the MSP issued a stern warning to the public. In Michigan, winter driving isn't just about skill, it's about humility. When the squalls hit, you must slow down. No destination is worth the risk we saw today on I-94. Meanwhile, beyond the tragic loss of life and physical injuries, the recent series of massive pileups on Michigan's major interstates, specifically the I-94 and I-131 corridors, has triggered an economic catastrophe. Initial estimates from state economists and insurance industry analysts suggest that the total damages, ranging from property destruction to global supply chain disruptions, will exceed $150 million. The The most immediate loss is the physical destruction of high-value assets. In the recent 150-vehicle pileup, approximately 60 of those were commercial heavy-duty trucks, Class 8 semis. A modern semi-truck and trailer can cost between $150,000 and $250,000. With 60 trucks involved, the hardware loss alone surpasses $12 million. The value of the goods being transported is often higher than the vehicles themselves. From electronics and automotive parts to perishable food items, the total loss claims for cargo are estimated at $45 million. With nearly 100 passenger cars totaled, insurance payouts for private property are expected to reach an additional $3 million to $5 million. Interstate 94 is the primary logistical artery connecting the Port of Detroit and the Chicago rail hubs. It is a critical link for the just-in-time, JIT, manufacturing processes used by the big three automakers, Ford, GM, and Stellantis. The 24-hour closure of I-94 caused a ripple effect in assembly plants. When components do not arrive on time, production lines stall. Industry experts estimate that every hour of downtime at a major assembly plant costs roughly $1.2 million. Thousands of trucks were forced to detour, adding hundreds of miles to their journeys. This increased fuel consumption and pushed drivers over their federally mandated hours of service, HOS limits, causing further delays across the Midwest. Intense fires from ignited cargo, such as the fireworks truck on I-94, can damage the structural integrity of asphalt and concrete. The Michigan Department of Transportation must conduct deep core testing to ensure bridges haven't been weakened by extreme heat. Hazardous material, Hazmat spills, including diesel fuel and toxic chemicals like formic acid, require specialized cleanup crews. These operations are billed at premium hourly rates, often costing upwards of $500,000 for a single major spill site. State Representative John Sullivan noted that these losses emphasize the need for smarter infrastructure. We aren't just losing cars, we are losing our economic momentum. We must invest in automated de-icing systems and better intelligent transportation systems, ITS, to prevent these multi-million-dollar disasters before they start.
That's a blizzard.
For those seeking to understand the impact of road closures on local commerce, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, MEDC, provides resources on supply chain resilience.
Just blowing.